When my wife passed away, her wealthy boss called me and said, "George, I found something. Come to my office right now." Then he added, "Don't tell your son or your daughter-in-law. You could be in grave danger." When I got there and saw who was standing at the door, I froze. My blood turned to ice. And I realized my wife didn't just die, she was taken from me. My name is George Mitchell, and I'm 58 years old. I spent 30 years supervising the assembly line at Ford's plant in Dearborn. And before that, I carried a rifle in Desert Storm. I know how to spot trouble coming from a mile away. But nothing prepared me for the storm that hit on the day we buried Linda. The whole thing started going sideways right at the funeral. I'm sitting in the front pew at St. Mary's Catholic Church, staring at the casket that held my Linda. We'd been married 32 years. She was the smartest woman I ever knew, worked as a bookkeeper and personal assistant for Richard Anderson, this millionaire who owned half the commercial real estate in Detroit. Linda had this gift with numbers. She could look at a balance sheet and spot problems nobody else saw. The service is about to start when the church doors slam open. In walks my son Danny with his wife Brenda. 45 minutes late. Danny's wearing this flashy grey suit that probably cost more than my truck payment, and Brenda's got on some tight black dress with heels that click like gunshots on the stone floor. Every head in that church turned. Danny slides in next to me without a word. Doesn't squeeze my shoulder. Doesn't even glance at his mother's casket. Just pulls out his phone and starts texting. I can see the sweat on his forehead, and it's not from grief. After the service, we head to the church hall for the meal. The ladies from Linda's Bible study made all her favorites, pot roast, green bean casserole, that cornbread she loved. I'm sitting at a corner table when I hear Brenda whisper to Danny, "Look at this cheap spread. Where did all her money go? You said she had savings." Danny mumbles something with his mouth full. Then Brenda says, "At least we don't have to pay for her heart medication anymore." That's $400 a month back in our pocket. I nearly choked on my coffee. My wife wasn't even in the ground, and they're talking about saving money on her pills. When everyone else left, Danny cornered me. "Dad, where's the key to Mom's safe?" I looked at him, really looked at him. This was the kid I taught to throw a baseball. The boy Linda rocked to sleep when he had nightmares. Now he's looking at me like I'm an ATM that won't give him his money. "What's safe?" I asked. "Don't play games, old man. Mom had life insurance. We're entitled to half as next of kin." Brenda steps up beside him. "We need to start probate immediately. Funerals are expensive and we have bills." I stood up slow, using my cane for support. I'm 6 feet tall, and even at 58, I tower over both of them. "Your mother's not even cold yet." "This isn't about emotions," Danny snapped. "It's about asset management. You worked on car engines your whole life, Dad. You don't understand finances. Mom handled all that. We're just trying to help, I said. "You're trying to rob me at my wife's funeral." Danny got in my face. His eyes were bloodshot, and I could smell stale beer on his breath. "Listen, old man, you don't know what's going on. If we don't find that money by Friday, some very bad people are going to hurt me. And when they hurt me, they'll come for you too." "What kind of people?" "The kind that break legs when you owe them money. Now, give me the damn key, or I'll tear this house apart." He reached for my jacket pocket. I slapped his hand away with a speed that surprised all of us. "Get out of my house," Brenda gasped. "He's losing it, Danny. We should have him committed for his own safety." "We'll discuss that later," Danny said. "Dad, you've got until tonight. If I don't get that key, I'm calling Adult Protective Services. I'll tell them you're not fit to live alone." They left me standing there in my own living room, feeling like a stranger in my own home. An hour later, my phone rang. The caller ID said R. Anderson, Linda's boss. Rick Anderson was 75 years old, worth about $50 million, and hadn't left his estate in 10 years because of his health. Why was he calling me? "George," he said, and his voice sounded shaky. "I was going through Linda's desk here at the house. She kept some personal files in my office safe. I found something you need to see, a journal and some photos." "What kind of photos, George? You need to come here right now. Don't go home. Don't tell Danny." "If he knows what I know, you won't live through the night." "What are you talking about, Rick? They didn't wait for Linda to die, George. They helped it happen." I felt dizzy. I grabbed the back of a chair to steady myself. "Come to the service entrance," Rick said. "The gate's already open. And George, bring whatever protection you've got." I hung up and walked out to my 1995 F-150. It's got 200,000 miles on it, but the engine purrs like a kitten. More importantly, in the glove box wrapped in an oily rag was my old service pistol from the Gulf War. I checked the chamber. still loaded. The Anderson estate sits on 20 acres in Bloomfield Hills. I pulled up to the service gate, and it swung open automatically. The driveway wound through oak trees older than the state of Michigan. My beat-up truck looked like a rust stain on the perfect asphalt. Rick was waiting on the side porch in his wheelchair. He looked every one of his 75 years, but his eyes were sharp as broken glass. Standing next to him was a guy I didn't recognize, tall, wearing a worn leather jacket, with the kind of scars on his face that come from asking the wrong questions in the wrong neighborhoods. "George, this is Steve Davis," Rick said. "He's a private investigator. Linda hired him 6 weeks ago." Steve stepped forward and handed me a manila envelope. "Mr. Mitchell, your wife suspected something was wrong. She asked me to watch your son." I opened the envelope. Inside were surveillance photos taken with a long-range camera lens. The first showed Danny standing in an alley behind a sports bar, talking to a heavy-set man with tattoos covering his neck. Danny was handing over a thick stack of cash. The second photo was taken through my kitchen window. The timestamp said 2:30 a.m., 3 days before Linda died. In the photo, Danny was standing at our kitchen counter. He had 2 pill bottles in his hands. One was Linda's heart medication. The other was unmarked. He was switching the contents. "Keep looking," Steve said quietly. The third photo made my knees buckle. It showed Danny in our kitchen again, but this time he was smiling. Actually smiling as he poisoned his own mother's medication. "I've been tracking his gambling debts," Steve continued. "He owes $200,000 to Tony Romano, local bookie who runs book out of that sports bar. Tony's not the kind of guy who accepts payment plans." Rick wheeled his chair closer. "George, Linda wrote something in her journal the night before she died. She found pills in Danny's coat pocket that looked exactly like her heart medication, but weren't. She was scared. She knew." I stared at the photos until my eyes burned. My son, the boy I'd carried on my shoulders, taught to drive, walked down the aisle at his wedding, had murdered his own mother for money. "What do we do?" I asked. Rick looked at Steve. "We need a confession, and I've got a plan to get one." Steve pulled out a small recording device. "We're going to set a trap. Make Danny think he's won, then let his greed do the talking." 2 days later, the trap was ready. Steve had called Danny, pretending to be a lawyer named Harvey Williams representing Linda's estate. He told Danny there was indeed a $1.2 million trust fund, but I had to pass a competency test before anyone could access it. The plan was simple. I'd play the confused old man Danny expected to see. Let him think I was losing my mind, then we'd record him admitting what he'd done. When Danny and Brenda showed up at the house, I was ready for them. I let my hand shake when I drank coffee. I asked the same questions twice. I stared off into space like I was somewhere else entirely. "See?" Brenda whispered to Danny. "He's not all there. This should be easy." Danny sat across from me at the kitchen table. "Dad, we need to talk about Mom's money. The lawyer says there's a trust fund, but you have to prove you're competent to handle it." I blinked slowly. "What money, son? Your mother didn't have any money." "Come on, Dad. Don't you remember? She saved up over the years working for Mr. Anderson. She was always careful with money, was she?" I asked, letting my voice waver. "I don't remember much anymore. Everything's so confusing since she died." Danny's eyes lit up. He thought he had me. "That's why we need to help you, Dad. Brenda and I can handle all the paperwork. All you have to do is sign a few documents." "What kind of documents? Just legal stuff, power of attorney. That way we can take care of everything for you." I nodded like a tired old man who didn't understand what was happening. "If you think it's best, son." The fake lawyer meeting was set for the next morning. Steve had rented a small office in downtown Detroit and hired an actor to play Harvey Williams. But Danny had other plans. That night, around 11 p.m., I heard my front door open. I was ready for him. I'd moved the recording equipment under the floorboard and had my pistol under my pillow. But I kept playing the frail old man. Danny walked into my bedroom carrying something that scared me, a 12-gauge shotgun he'd borrowed from his buddy. His eyes were wild and he reeked of whiskey. "Where is it, old man?" he demanded, pointing the gun at my chest. "Where's the money?" "Danny, what money? I don't understand." "Cut the act," he screamed. "I know Mom had cash hidden in this house. I know about the trust fund. If I don't get 200 grand by tomorrow, Tony's going to put me in the hospital. And after that, he's coming for you." I let my voice tremble. "Why would anyone want to hurt me?" Danny laughed, but it sounded more like crying. "Because you raised me, Dad. Because I'm your responsibility. Because everything you and Mom ever did led to this moment." "Led to what moment, son?" The moment I had to kill her. The words exploded out of him like they'd been trapped in his chest for days. She found out about the gambling, she found out about Tony. She was going to cut me off completely. She was going to change her will and leave everything to charity. The recording device under the floor was getting every word. "You killed your mother?" I whispered. I didn't have a choice. Danny was pacing now, the shotgun shaking in his hands. It was easy. Just switched her heart pills for some diet pills I got online. Basically speed. Her weak heart couldn't handle it. If she'd been stronger, she would have survived. It's her fault for being old and sick. I stared at this stranger wearing my son's face. How could you watch her die? She died in her sleep, Dad. It was peaceful. Probably more peaceful than she deserved after putting me through 35 years of lectures about responsibility. That's when I knew I wasn't looking at my son anymore. I was looking at a monster who'd killed the woman I loved and was now planning to kill me too. I pressed the panic button Steve had given me. Within 3 minutes, the house was surrounded. FBI agents and Detroit police swarmed through every door and window. The Elder Fraud Task Force had been listening to the whole conversation from a van parked down the street. Danny dropped the shotgun and tried to run, but there was nowhere to go. They tackled him in the hallway, right next to the family photos Linda had hung there over the years. Pictures of birthdays, Christmases, graduations, all the moments when we thought we were raising a good man. Brenda was caught trying to escape through the back door with a suitcase full of my wife's jewelry. She'd been packing while Danny held me at gunpoint, planning to disappear the moment they got what they came for. Detective Carl Johnson read Danny his rights while 2 agents held him down. "Danny Mitchell, you're under arrest for the murder of Linda Mitchell, conspiracy, elder abuse, and attempted murder. This is insane," Danny screamed. "He's my father. He's senile. You can't trust anything he says." But they had everything on tape. Every word of his confession. Every detail about switching the pills. Every admission about watching his mother die. The next few weeks were a blur of lawyers, medical examiners, and court hearings. The DA ordered Linda's body exhumed for toxicology testing. That was the hardest part, disturbing her rest again. But we needed the proof. The toxicology report came back 2 weeks later. Linda's blood showed massive amounts of synthetic stimulants, enough to trigger a heart attack in someone half her age. The medical examiner found traces of the same substance in Danny's car, where he'd spilled some while preparing the deadly mixture. Steve Davis testified about his investigation. He'd documented Danny's gambling problem going back 18 months. The sports betting had started small, but Danny kept chasing bigger wins to cover his losses. By the time Linda hired Steve, Danny owed Tony Romano $200,000 with interest climbing every week. Rick Anderson took the stand and read from Linda's journal. Her final entry, written the night before she died, said she'd found suspicious pills in Danny's jacket and was afraid for her safety. She'd hidden money in Rick's safe because she suspected Danny was stealing from her accounts. The prosecution painted a clear picture. Danny needed money fast to save his own life. His mother was the only obstacle between him and a $1.2 million inheritance. So he'd chosen murder over honesty. Danny's defense lawyer tried to claim temporary insanity brought on by gambling addiction, but the jury saw through it. The planning, the pill switching, the fake grief at the funeral, none of that suggested someone who'd lost control. This was calculated murder for profit. Brenda took a plea deal and testified against Danny. She admitted knowing about the gambling debts and helping plan my financial exploitation. Her testimony sealed Danny's fate. She described how they'd planned to have me declared incompetent and steal my assets to pay off Tony Romano. The trial lasted 3 months. I sat in that courtroom every day, watching strangers dissect the destruction of my family. Linda's friends from church came to support me. My old crew from the Ford plant showed up wearing their union jackets. Even some of the guys from my army unit drove down from Toledo. When the verdict came back, guilty on all counts of first-degree murder, elder abuse, conspiracy, and attempted murder, I felt something I hadn't felt since Linda died. Relief. Danny got life without parole. Brenda got 15 years for conspiracy and fraud. The judge called it one of the most callous betrayals of family trust he'd seen in 30 years on the bench. After the sentencing, I had to figure out what to do with the rest of my life. Linda had indeed saved $1.2 million over 32 years of careful investing and living below our means. She'd worked 2 jobs for 15 years, clipped every coupon, bought store brands, and put every extra penny into index funds. But I couldn't just spend that money on myself. Not when it was bought with her blood. That's when I remembered what Linda used to say about helping people. She'd grown up poor, lost her parents young, and knew what it felt like to be vulnerable. She always said if we ever got lucky in life, we should pull other people up with us. So I started the Linda Mitchell Foundation for Elder Protection. The mission was simple: help families avoid what we went through. We hired lawyers to represent seniors being exploited by their own children. We funded investigators to expose financial abuse. We provided safe housing for elderly people who needed to escape dangerous family situations. In our first year, we helped 52 families. We recovered $2.8 million in stolen assets. We put 9 greedy adult children in prison for elder fraud. Every case felt like justice for Linda. The foundation also educated people about warning signs of elder abuse, sudden changes to wills, adult children asking for power of attorney, unexplained withdrawals from bank accounts, family members isolating elderly relatives from friends and community. Rick Anderson became our biggest supporter, donating office space and administrative help. Steve Davis joined as our lead investigator. Even some of the cops from Danny's case volunteered their time. But the work wasn't just about catching criminals. Sometimes we helped families repair relationships before they broke completely. We counseled adult children struggling with addiction or financial problems. We connected elderly people with resources so they wouldn't have to depend on unreliable family members. Linda would have loved seeing her legacy grow this way. She'd always been the one to organize church fundraisers, collect coats for homeless shelters, and check on elderly neighbors. The foundation felt like a natural extension of who she was. Every month, I visited Danny in prison. Not out of love, that had died the night he confessed. I went to remind him that his mother's death hadn't been meaningless. Every life we saved was proof that good could come from evil. Danny always asked for money for his commissary account and begged for a lawyer to appeal his conviction. I always said the same thing: ask your mother. The visits weren't about forgiveness, they were about accountability. 3 years have passed since the trial ended, and the foundation has grown beyond anything I imagined. We've helped 147 families across Michigan and Ohio. Our hotline gets calls from seniors who recognize the warning signs we teach about. Adult children reach out when they see their siblings acting suspicious around aging parents. We've expanded our services too. Linda's Legacy Housing provides temporary shelter for elderly people fleeing abusive situations. Our legal clinic offers free consultations for estate planning and protective orders. We even run seminars at senior centers about financial safety and family boundary setting. The most satisfying cases are the preventions minus situations where we intervene before anyone gets hurt. Last month, we helped an 82-year-old veteran whose daughter was pressuring him to sign over his house. Our lawyer reviewed the documents and found she'd already forged his signature on a reverse mortgage application. Instead of losing his home, he kept it, and she got probation. Rick Anderson passed away last winter. He left half his estate to the foundation minus $25 million that will keep Linda's work going for decades. At his funeral, his pastor said Rick had found redemption by protecting the vulnerable. I think Linda would have liked that. Steve Davis runs our investigation department now. He's got a team of former cops and social workers who track down elder fraud cases. They use the same techniques that caught Danny's: surveillance, financial analysis, and patient evidence gathering. We've also partnered with local police departments to train officers on elder abuse recognition. Many cops don't know what to look for when an elderly person seems confused or frightened around family members. Now they know to ask the right questions and document suspicious behavior. The hardest part of this work is seeing how common it is. Every week we get calls from families destroyed by greed. Adult children who see their parents as walking bank accounts, spouses who marry elderly people just to inherit their assets, caregivers who steal medication and social security checks, but we also see incredible resilience. Seniors who fight back against exploitation, family members who refuse to stay silent when they witness abuse, communities that rally around vulnerable neighbors. That's what gives me hope. People still care about doing the right thing. My own healing has been gradual. For the first year after Linda died, I had nightmares about finding her body. I'd wake up angry, wanting to drive to the prison and hurt Danny the way he hurt her. Grief counseling helped, but mostly it was the foundation work that saved me. Helping other families gave my pain a purpose. Every case we solved felt like honoring Linda's memory. Every abuser we caught was one less family that would go through what we experienced. I've also found an unexpected family among the people who work with us. Rick's nephew Mark handles our finances. Steve's wife Susan coordinates our volunteers. The lawyers who represent our clients have become close friends. Last month marked the 3rd anniversary of Linda's death. Instead of visiting her grave alone, 30 people from the foundation came with me. We planted flowers and shared stories about the families we'd helped that month. It felt like Linda was there with us, proud of what her sacrifice had accomplished. I've started taking trips to places Linda always wanted to see. Paris was first, then Ireland. Now I'm planning a visit to Alaska. I carry a small portion of her ashes and leave them in beautiful locations she never got to experience. It's my way of giving her the adventures we never had time for. These journeys aren't sad anymore. They're celebrations of the life we built together and the legacy that continues growing. When I stand on a mountain in Ireland or walk along the Seine in Paris, I feel Linda's presence not as grief, but as gratitude for the 32 years we had. Danny still writes letters asking for money and visits. I still respond with updates about the foundation. Last year, I sent him a newspaper clipping about a case where we saved an 89-year-old woman from her grandson's financial exploitation. The grandson got 12 years in prison. I want Danny to understand that his mother's death created something bigger than his greed. Every life we save is evidence that evil doesn't get the final word. Love does. The foundation has taught me something important about justice. It's not just about punishing wrongdoers, though that matters too. Real justice is about preventing future victims and healing the damage that's already been done. Linda believed in second chances, but she also believed in consequences. She would have loved seeing greedy adult children go to prison, but she would have loved even more knowing that their crimes were being used to protect other families. That's why I keep doing this work. Not for revenge against people like Danny, but for redemption of the pain they caused. Every day, Linda's death saves someone else's life. The money Danny killed for has become his own prison sentence. Every dollar he thought he'd inherit now funds the pursuit of people just like him. The inheritance he murdered for is being spent to put murderers in jail. There's something beautifully circular about that justice. Sometimes people ask if I've forgiven Danny. I tell them forgiveness isn't the right word for what I feel. I've accepted that the boy I raised is gone, replaced by someone I don't know. I've made peace with the fact that some people choose evil over love, but I refuse to let his choice define the rest of my life. I choose to honor Linda by protecting other people's mothers, fathers, and grandparents. I choose to turn our tragedy into someone else's salvation. That's not forgiveness, it's transformation. This journey taught me that family isn't just about blood relationships. It's about people who show up when you're broken and help you build something meaningful from the pieces. Rick Anderson was more of a brother to me than Danny ever was. The foundation volunteers care more about Linda's legacy than her actual son ever did. Blood might make you related, but loyalty makes you family. And sometimes the family you choose is stronger than the one you're born into. Real love protects the vulnerable instead of exploiting them. Real family builds each other up instead of tearing each other down. If you're reading this and you recognize warning signs in your own family, don't ignore them. Trust your instincts when something feels wrong. Get help before it's too late. And remember, you're never too old to start over, and it's never too late to do the right thing.